everyone, it's me Sabrina. I hope you all are having a great day. So, Anne with an E, a show based on the beloved books written by Lucy Maud Montgomery about a young girl, Anne Shirley, in the late 1800s who gets adopted by Marilla and Matthew Cuthbert after a little miscommunication. So, the big question, why is this show so beloved and why is everyone fighting for it to come back for a season 4? Well, that's what I'm here to answer in this video. Why is Anne with an E so great? But before we start this video, I just want to give a little spoiler warning because in this video I will be talking about Anne with an E through all seasons 1, 2, 3. So if you have not watched this show, then please do not continue unless you really just do not care about spoilers and just want to hear my opinions. I also forgot to mention that in this video I will be lightly talking about physical abuse and sexual assault. So if those are some triggering topics for you, then please look at these timestamps to avoid those discussions. Anyways, let's get back to the video. So firstly, obviously, we have to talk about the woman, the icon, the moment, Anne Shirley Cuthbert. So in the books, Anne was described as a very lively person with a bright imagination who saw the world as this wonderful place and appreciated all of the little things. And I think that this show does a wonderful job at showcasing that. So along with keeping the personality traits that she was described with in the books, they also added a lot of new elements which I really enjoyed and some that are questionable. So I think in order to understand why Anne behaves the way she does, we have to understand her situation and where she came from in life. So it was described in both the books and the show that before she got adopted by Matthew and Marilla, she was bounced around from foster home to foster home because her biological parents both died when she was very young. But the ones that we are all most familiar with are the Hammonds, who adopted her for the longest time and were the most awful to her. So in the first season of the show, we are shown many flashbacks of Anne's childhood with the Hammonds, how both Mr. and Mrs. Hammonds abused her whenever she didn't finish her chores properly or even just for existing. But despite all of the hardships that she's gone through, Anne still managed to keep a very positive outlook on life, and while luckily she did end up with Matthew and Marilla. So obviously throughout season 1 to 3, Anne has developed a lot, from being the little innocent girl that we knew from season 1 to being a fully grown independent woman in season 3. And honestly, we love that for her. Honestly, there were a lot of rough moments in between, particularly that scene in season 2, which we won't talk about for legal reasons. And honestly, I do hear a lot of people saying that Anne is annoying and just not very enjoyable to watch, which I strongly disagree with because I think that there is a very distinct line between annoying and someone that just has a very loud way of portraying their personality, which I think people confuse a lot. So next, we're obviously going to be talking about Marilla and Matthew themselves, who are the ones that adopt Anne at the beginning of the show. So we know that from the books and the show that the whole premise of Anne with an E is the fact that Anne actually gets wrongfully adopted by Marilla and Matthew. Originally, they wanted to adopt a boy to help out on the farm since they are getting quite old and can't really do as much work as they used to before. But due to a little miscommunication that happens at the orphanage, they get Anne instead and decide to keep her. In the first episode of season 1, Anne gets a 1-week trial to prove herself worthy of getting adopted by them, but after sort of kind of losing Marilla's brooch, they send her back to the orphanage, but then Marilla finds her brooch again and they go back all the way to save her, and it's a whole shenanigan between episode 1 and 2. I think throughout the show, Marilla and Matthew both have wonderful character developments, particularly Marilla, because we all know that she is a pretty guarded person in terms of her emotion. She really does not like to show her soft side. She's mostly always strict with Anne, and that's because she had a pretty rough childhood, which is a new element that they added to the show that the books and the show beforehand never really did. So, upon further research, I have learned that there is a book called Marilla of Green Gables, which goes further into detail about Marilla's life, but it was written by Sarah McCoy and not Lucy Maud Montgomery, and as I have not read this book, I can't say much further on the topic. They showcased how her and Matthew's mother got sick at a very young age and how they had to stay home and leave school to take care of her. That's why they both never got married. On top of this, they also had a brother Michael who mysteriously died. Throughout the show, we never really know why, how, or why he died, but we both know that it really affected Marilla and Matthew and a few people around them as well. I think Marilla's character development throughout the entire show is really natural and believable, as well as just really special to see someone like Marilla, in the late 1800s, from being so close minded and narrow thinking to having such an open heart like Anne. Matthew, on the other hand, was always a little cinnamon bun. We only had a few issues in season 2 and 3. Season 2 because of the whole Anne sending letters to his old crush Ginny, and then the season 3 with Matthew dealing with the hard truth of Anne leaving for Queens. But I think either way that this show really does a good job of showcasing how people can change just because of one person that entered into their lives, and how it really is possible to become more open-minded. So, next, we'll be talking about Anne's best friend throughout the show, Diana Barry. Now, if I'm being honest, I don't really know what to think of her. I think that in the first and second season, she was definitely a real sweetheart. She was so supportive of Anne, and I really do love that because honestly, Anne deserved the world, and I'm really lucky that Diana was there for her when she needed her most. But season 3 was when she went a little bit rogue. Not really rogue, but girl, I don't even know where to start with the drama. I mean, pairing her up with Jerry was, I think, an interesting choice. I wasn't expecting it for sure. But, when I first saw it, I thought, hey, this could work. It's pretty cute seeing a farm boy and a rich girl. I'm kind of interested in that dynamic. But then they had the whole drama of keeping it a secret from everyone, and I don't know. I think it was inevitable that they were going to break up, but I think that the way the show handled it was so wrong and really ruined Diana's character for me. And I just don't know what to think, especially the whole argument with Anne was so unnecessary. Like, girl, bye. So, of course, next we're going to be talking about Gilbert Blythe, the love interest of Anne Shirley Cuthbert. Damn, where do I even start with this man? Like, he's so fine, please. Also, his eyebrows, I swear, they have their own personality. I'm pretty sure they have summoned their own fan base. Like, have you seen his eyebrows? Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I kind of relate. But okay, on a serious note, I think that what this show did with Gilbert's character was really good because something I find about movies and books written in 1906 is that they can't really go too much into characters that are not the main character. Because obviously, with things like movies, you only have like a 1 hour and 30-minute time restriction, while books written in 1906 can't really go much into emotional depth of anything. And that's not as to say that books written back then are bad. I just think that for this show in particular, the characters weren't explored much in the books, whereas in the show, we got to go more into each of their personal lives and understand the reasons for their actions. I think that this show really gave Gilbert some good personality. Going through all seasons 1 to 3, he was going strong. Like how in season 1, we get to see his personal life and how he's dealing with his sick father, and then how his death really affects him and why he acted the way he did with Anne. And going on to season 2 when he started working in the coal mine ship thingy with his newfound friend Sebastian, which taught him to be a little bit more or less of a pretentious white boy, we love that for him. And then obviously going into season 3, which I think was his prime season, like a damn. Obviously there was a lot of drama, with the whole Mary dying and all of the Winnie stuff, which I'm not going to be getting into, otherwise I'm going to rant about it. But, I think we all know how we feel about it. Honestly, I don't hate Winnie. I just, she can have someone else, just not Gilbert. But anyways, I really do love the character development with Gilbert. I think that he has a really passionate soul. I love that they gave him a job that is not a teacher, because I think it would make the show a little bit more boring if they had him and Anne do the same profession and go to the same school. And I think that the doctor profession really suits with his personality because he's so passionate about helping people, and I just really do love that for him. And I think that a good thing about Gilbert is that he will apologize for any wrong thing he's done, even if it does take a little time. For instance, when he and Sebastian had that huge argument at the end of season 2, but then he apologized, or when he and Anne had the argument at the end of season 1. So, I think that Gilbert really is a good soul. Not sure about the actor, but we'll move on. So, next, obviously, how could we not talk about them? Sherbert. This is a Sherbert stan channel, and if you don't stan them, you can see yourself out. Thank you very much. I mean, just everything about them. Their character developments, their chemistry, the way they look at each other, their arguments, their hugs, their kiss. I actually can't. Like, they are my TV show OTP. Also, I'm so sorry to all the fellow Sherbert fans out there. I don't know how on earth I forgot the Sherbert dance in season 3. Iconic. Like, from season 1 for the whole, carrots, I'm not talking to you. Iconic. Literally so iconic. Obviously, and then their argument, I really do think that was a growing moment for both of them, and yeah. Then, in season 2, I think it was a little disappointing that Gilbert was gone for like half of the season, but I sort of understand why they did that, especially with the whole gold mine drama thing. But I do think that the scene where they were at the Christmas dinner was so sweet when they blew out the candles at the same time and when they looked at each other when they said Merry Christmas and cheers. Oh my gosh, I can't, like, my heart. Oh my gosh, yeah. And then obviously season 3, where do I even begin? Like, geez. Oh, the amount of conversations they had, the fact that, like, Anne literally went to his house, like, basically once a week to see Mary and take care of Delphine and stuff, like, so sweet. And I don't know, just the way that they secretly look at each other, the whole notice board thing, and just them bouncing around the bush because there was Winnie, and then, oh my gosh, the fact that everyone like inside the show was shipping like Anne and Charlie. Like, what was up with that? I don't even. I think that they're just so sweet. I do think that the kiss might have been a little rushed, but that is again because season 4 was canceled, which I'm so mad about, but we're gonna talk about later in the video. Because I think if they had them kiss in season 4, it definitely would have been a bit more natural. But since we only have 3 seasons, I think that they did do a good job with what they had. And okay, can I just say, for 2 people who have never kissed other than each other before, damn, like, leave some for the rest of us, will you? So next, I just want to mention a few small things which I really enjoyed in this show. So, things like Ruby. She's literally the sweetest person ever. Oh my gosh. And that TikTok trend where she goes like, how I love being a woman, and then just shows like the whole montage of like Anne with an E. It makes me want to cry every single time. Honestly, the pairing with Moody, I would really like to see that in season 4 if they had season 4, but obviously the whole storyline with Cuthbert, I really enjoyed that they gave us more representation in the show because, I mean, obviously with a Canadian book about white people written in 1906, there wasn't really much opportunity for that, but I think that this show really did a good job of putting representation in it without making it feel forced like a lot of shows do nowadays. And can I just give a special shout out to the Queen Rachel Lynde herself? Her character development, immaculate. I think it's probably the best one in the show. I mean, the way she goes from being so judgmental and hurtful to Anne to being like her literal best auntie, like, wow, lovely. Just, I love it. I mean, sure, she still is a kind of a blabbermouth, but the argument she had with Marilla in season 3 was, oh damn, really learning moment for both of them. But I really do like it. I think it made their friendship stronger, and I really just enjoy watching her. She's literally so funny. Like, have you heard her jokes? And of course, someone else that I gotta talk about is Josie. I think that originally in the books and the movies beforehand that, Josie was kind of just seen as, oh, this like mean girl, she's super, super annoying. But the show really does a good job into sort of diving into her. We don't really get to know much about her in season 1 and 2, except that, she's kind of forced to be beautiful by her mother. With that scene we got, I'm not sure which season it was in, but where she's like curling her hair, like with those ribbons. And the way Josie is like, Mother, could we maybe not curl my hair today? But then her mom was like, beauty is pain, darling. You know that. And I don't know. And season 3, like, damn, Billy. Yeah. You know what me and my best friend call him? Billy Dishrag Andrews, because that is exactly what he is. He's nothing else and nothing, literally. Like, I think it was a I think it was interesting that they showed, sexual assault in the show because definitely I don't think it's something exactly talked about, especially in like those days. So the fact that it was portrayed in that way, I don't think it was too graphic or too jarring to see, except, for people who do have that trigger. But I think it was still very interesting to show the way that it affected Josie more than it did Billy, because honestly, that is the truth of people back then, that nobody really blamed the man for anything, and the blame always went to the girl, even though Josie did nothing. Also, before we move on, can I just say, was Charlie supposed to be Gilbert's best friend? Because, like, I know he was. He was described that way in the books and the movies and just everywhere. That Charlie is Gilbert's best friend. But I'm like, where? They are literally not best friends. Like, I would argue Gilbert and Moody are better friends in the show. Like, I don't know. And honestly, if they did make Charlie Gilbert's best friend, they should have shown some kind of drama, with Charlie liking Anne and then Gilbert liking Anne. Because, I mean, sure, the love triangle thing is very tired, but they could have done like a little subplot line with that. I mean, I'm not sure. Could they have done it if there was a season 4? Maybe, but I'm not sure. I mean, it would be interesting, but they did not do that, so that's kind of weird. So, okay, the next thing we're going to be talking about is obviously, why was this show canceled? The big question. So, I'm also going to be taking my information from Mimi1239 here. You guys should check out her channel. She has a lot of interesting videos, mostly about Anne E, but also about shows like Cobra Kai and Ginny and Georgia, etc., etc. So, from what I understand, basically, the show was first produced by CBC, which is the Canadian broadcasting channel. But then I think they had a partnership with Netflix, and so they started premiering one episode there, one episode here, until kind of they just all went to Netflix. I'm pretty sure somewhere around the time they were filming or when season 3 was released, they cut off their connections, which is the main reason why Anne was canceled. Before this, I honestly thought that they canceled it because there weren't enough people watching it, which kind of surprised me because they were saying that the demographic from ages 25 to 40 weren't watching enough, which was so weird because, like, are you really thinking 25 to 40-year-olds are going to watch a show about a 16-year-old living in the late 1800s? Like, no, girly. But I don't think that's the reason anymore. I'm pretty sure they just came up with that. I think just the main reason is that CBC and Netflix cut off their ties. But there has been a new development recently, like a couple of months ago, where CBC and Netflix allegedly have their partnership back, but there's no, like, official actual news of Anne coming back for season 4. I really do hope it does, because whoever canceled this show, jail. Literally jail. Like, who? Who thought it was a good idea? Yes. Like, millions of people love this show, and we're just gonna, no. But I think on top of that, we have to talk about the things that I'd like to see in season 4. I'm going to keep this brief because I'm pretty sure this video is long enough as it is already. But basically, some of the things I would like to see is the continuation of Cuthbert's storyline, because it was so sad just seeing the way that her parents were sitting outside and the way that she was looking in from the building, just staring at her parents. It was so upsetting. And honestly, it's sad to say, but I'm pretty sure that, people like that back then in real life probably did not get saved. But seeing as this is a fictional show, I would at least like to see Kako get some sort of happy ending or resolution, because it's just so upsetting seeing her stuck in that place, with no way to get out, and the way that they just forced her in there, and it's so sad to see. Something else I would really like to see is what the show would do with Miss Stacy and Bash, because they sort of hinted at a little friendship / romance with them at the end of season 3, like long after Mary died. And honestly, I would love to see that, because interracial couples weren't a very normal thing for a very long time, and so it would be very interesting to see how they dealt with that in like early 1900s. And then obviously I would love to see how Anne does in Queens. I would love to see how, she gets closer with other girls. And obviously the number one thing I would like to see is the letters between Anne and Gilbert. Like, damn, I cannot tell you the amount of fan fictions on Wattpad there are about the letters they wrote, or just of season 4 in general. There are so many, like, I can't even count, but yeah, I would just really like to see that. I also like to see small things like, the pairing with Ruby and Moody. I'd love to see how, Diana meets her supposed love interest Fred, from the books. I'd love to see more of Cole and Joe because we barely got them in season 3. And I think something that is kind of inevitable is Matthew dying. I'm not really sure because in the books it described that he dies after Anne finishes Queens. You know, the creator of the show actually planned a 35-hour long series for Anne E, which is 5 seasons. Like, guys, we could have gotten a 4th and 5th season. Imagine how many stuff we could have gotten. We could have gotten, like, you know, like more just Anne and Gilbert stuff, because something that I just really want to see is just the emotional depth of their relationship, their arguments, you know, things that might happen. Especially because I'm wondering if they're going to bring Roy back from the books. He was basically just another love interest for Anne, which kind of set her and Gilbert apart. But at the same time, Winnie was kind of like a sort of replacement for Roy, which I don't know if that was or if they just added her, like kind of like a gender flip sort of thing. Not 1000% sure, but I don't know. It would still just be interesting to see all the drama with that. Anyways, I'm rambling here, so let's just get to the conclusion already. So, finally, answering the question, why is Anne with an E so great? Well, you know, other than the wonderful cinematography, the costumes, the soundtrack, I think that in its essence, Anne with an E is just such a simple and wholesome show, and that is such a rare thing to see nowadays with, you know, all these shows about, you know, action and fantasy and supernatural, and there is nothing wrong with those shows. I love just disconnecting from reality and just watching something that could never actually happen in real life. I think that Anne with an E really is just such a breath of fresh air. It's something that I understand won't be for everyone because slice of life stuff might be boring for some people, but at least for me personally, I think it's just so interesting seeing someone like Anne come from such a rough childhood and growing into the wonderful young woman that she has become. It's just truly so inspiring and really has just taught me to appreciate life for what it is and to see the importance in all the little things. And I think that is such a beautiful thing. So guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please do like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.